My partner concealed a secret affair, so I set a trap with my stunning cousin, drained his finances, and publicly exposed him at the airport. Imagine discovering that your boyfriend has been deceiving, stealing, and manipulating you for months. What would you do? Here's how I took charge of the situation. Ethan and I had been together for 3 years. The first 2 years were wonderful, but the final year turned into a psychological battleground. He started snooping through my phone, questioning my whereabouts and who I was talking to. He became wildly jealous if male colleagues messaged me about work matters. He'd make snide remarks about my supposed infidelity in front of our friends. When I got upset, he'd claim I was overreacting and that only guilty people get defensive. The worst part, I was completely loyal, never even close to straying. I stayed devoted while he projected his own deceit onto me. My best friend, Clara, was the one who first caught him. She'd been my closest confidant since high school, practically family. One evening, after I vented about another of Ethan's absurd accusations, Clara came over. I showed her a text where he demanded to know why I was 20 minutes late from the supermarket, implying I was meeting someone. Clara gave me a strange look and pulled out her phone. Ethan's dating profile was active that very day. His bio boldly stated he was single and looking for excitement. Clara revealed she'd suspected something for weeks. A friend of hers had matched with him, but recognized him as my boyfriend from my social media posts. Clara had been gathering proof before telling me, wanting to be certain. That night, we hatched a plan. Clara would create a fake profile and try to match with him to test how far he'd go. Within hours, Clara connected with him. He didn't hesitate. Their chats were vile. He claimed he was single and complained about his unstable ex. Me, saying he was trying to end things, but I wouldn't let go. When Clara asked why he didn't just leave, he said I paid half the rent and handled all the cooking and cleaning. Why give that up until he found something better? He sent her screenshots of conversations with other women he was seeing, mocking me in them. He called me a wretched creature, repulsive to these women. In one message, Ethan wrote, "I can barely stand it when she tries to kiss me." Another woman replied, "You're a hero for dealing with her. I'd have left long ago." Ethan responded, "It's messy, but not for long, I swear." These were messages to multiple women, all while he accused me of cheating. Meanwhile, I was cooking his favorite dishes, doing his laundry, and trying to prove my love. I didn't confront him right away. Clara and I decided we needed more than just proof. We needed a strategy, not to win him back, but to ruin him. For weeks, I played the perfect girlfriend while Clara messaged him through the fake profile. I smiled when he kissed me goodbye each morning. I kept cooking and washing his clothes. I even apologized when he accused me of flirting with the delivery guy who simply dropped off our food and left. All the while, I was plotting. One night, Ethan came home late, reeking of unfamiliar perfume. When I casually mentioned it, he exploded, calling me paranoid and suggesting I seek help for my issues. He even said I might be depressed since I hadn't been myself. I smiled, apologized, and mentally added this to the list of reasons he deserved what was coming. I checked our finances. We had a joint account for bills, but Ethan had a separate savings account he bragged about. He always talked about his financial savvy and saving for our future. What a lie. Bank statements showed large withdrawals on nights he claimed to be working late, fancy dinners, hotel charges, and gift shop purchases. That's when I knew where to hit him, his pride and his money. I thought of my cousin, Sophia. People said we looked alike, but she was a more striking version of me. Thanks, genetics. She had dark hair and eyes like me, but was taller with a better figure, as my mom loved to point out. Sophia was a model in college and still turned heads everywhere. She owed me a favor after I helped her through a bad breakup last year. I called Sophia and Clara for an urgent meeting and laid out the whole situation. Sophia was livid on my behalf. She said Ethan's behavior was emotional abuse, not just cheating. She was right. Clara showed Sophia all the evidence, and Sophia was shocked at his cruelty while playing the victim. After 3 hours of discussion, I went from furious to cold and calculated. That night, watching Ethan smirk while texting on his phone, likely badmouthing me to another woman while accusing me of cheating, I made my choice. I crafted a plan to make him regret every word he said about me, something that would strike his ego and wallet. Clara and Sophia were all in, and we were ready to teach him a lesson he'd never forget. First update, our plan was like something from a thriller, but it was real, and I was living it. We decided Sophia would accidentally bump into Ethan at his gym. He went to a downtown fitness center every Tuesday and Thursday, supposedly to work out. but I now suspect he was scoping out women. Sophia got a guest pass through a friend. We studied Ethan's routine. He always posted workout selfies with timestamps, what a predictable fool, and timed her to be on the treadmill next to his favorite bench press. On the first day of Operation Take Him Down, Sophia wore eye-catching leggings that made me do a double take. She texted me from the gym, "Target spotted. He's been staring since I walked in." What followed was so predictable it was almost dull. Ethan accidentally bumped into her while grabbing a towel, struck up a chat about workout supplements or some nonsense, and asked for her number to share fitness tips. That night he was texting her. My stomach churned as I sat with Sophia on my couch, reading each message. Clara brought wine and takeout, saying we needed fuel for the mental warfare ahead. The texts were typical compliments on her physique, questions about her relationship status, and suggestions to grab a smoothie sometime. Ethan had no clue Sophia was my cousin. We resembled each other subtly, but he hadn't paid attention to me in ages. The plan was straightforward but devastating. Sophia would date him, get him hooked, make him spend absurd amounts of money, and then we'd reveal everything. Meanwhile, I'd keep playing the clueless girlfriend, secretly relishing watching him dig his own financial and emotional grave. Sophia and Ethan went on their first date 4 days later. He told me he had a work event that night. I kissed him goodbye, wished him well, and drove to Clara's place, where we followed the evening through Sophia's live updates. He took her to a high-end restaurant he'd never taken me to, despite my hints for our anniversary. Sophia said he ordered the priciest wine, boasting about his job and savings, and even implied he was practically single, ending a dead-end relationship. When Sophia sent us a bathroom selfie from the date, I nearly gagged. It was surreal seeing my boyfriend whining and dining my cousin, while I sat on my best friend's couch, eating popcorn and plotting revenge. Clara kept reminding me he was proving what a scumbag he was, and he'd soon pay, literally. Over the next few weeks, Ethan fell hard for Sophia. He started canceling our plans to meet her, staying out late and coming home with a smug grin like he had a juicy secret. Sophia reported everything to me and Clara. The spending started small, dinners, trinkets, concert tickets. But Sophia was clever. She'd casually mention jewelry she admired while passing a store. Next thing, Ethan dropped $600 on earrings to impress her. She'd talk about a weekend getaway she'd always dreamed of, and Ethan was booking hotels and reservations. The best part, Sophia would forget these gifts at his place, saying she didn't want to lose them so he couldn't ask for them back later. She'd then bring them to me. I had a stash of luxury jewelry, designer bags, and even a watch he'd bought for her. He claimed to be saving for our future while making these purchases. Sophia had a knack for planning trips and experiences. She'd get Ethan to book everything on his credit card, then say she needed cash for her share, which he'd refuse, trying to impress her. After the trip, she'd Venmo me her share, using his money. I'd sometimes treat myself, but mostly I split it with Clara and Sophia for what we called our retribution fund. We were building quite a stash. One weekend, Ethan told me he had a work conference in a coastal town 3 hours away. In reality, he spent a lavish weekend with Sophia at a high-end resort. Sophia convinced him she needed $1,000 for spa treatments and shopping. He handed it over without question. While he was away, I used that money for a spa day with Clara at a local place. We got the works, massages, facials, mani-pedis, all on Ethan's dime. We even posted photos, knowing Ethan barely checked my social media anymore. Ethan's lies to me grew bolder. He claimed to work late 4 nights a week or go on business trips. He even said his mom was sick to take Sophia to a vineyard hotel. The next weekend, his mom called to invite us for dinner. I covered, saying Ethan had food poisoning. Keeping up the act was draining. I had to pretend everything was fine, cook his meals, do his laundry, and smile when he kissed me with lips he'd used on my cousin. Things got trickier when Ethan started telling Sophia about his awful girlfriend, me. Sophia recorded their talks, legal in our state with one party's consent, and shared them with me. Hearing him call me clingy, needy, and oblivious made me want to destroy him. The worst was when he told Sophia he couldn't wait to ditch the dead weight, only staying because I paid bills and cleaned like a human vacuum. When I heard that recording, I smashed a glass against the wall while Ethan was out. Clara came over to help clean it up before he got back. Despite the pain, our plan's rewards were piling up. Sophia got Ethan to buy her a new phone because hers kept dying. She gave it to me since my screen was cracked. She got him to buy designer shoes in her size, my size. She even convinced him to fund a yoga retreat she didn't attend. I went with Clara instead, laughing about how Ethan paid for my relaxation while thinking I was home doing his chores. 2 months ago, Sophia kicked off phase 2. She started talking about work stress and wanting a real vacation. She subtly mentioned destinations I'd always wanted to visit. One night on a date with Ethan, she fake cried about never affording a proper getaway. Ethan, playing the hero, offered to help. By the end of the night, he'd booked a weekend at a luxurious mountain resort 3 hours away, all expenses paid. This is where it got wild. The day before the trip, Sophia called Ethan, sobbing. Her grandmother was in the hospital, so she couldn't go. Ethan was crushed, especially since the trip was non-refundable. Sophia, ever kind, suggested he go anyway since he'd worked so hard. Ethan reluctantly agreed. When he told me he was going on a guy's fishing trip, I texted Sophia and Clara. The plan was in motion. Sophia had slipped me the reservation details. As soon as Ethan left for work, I packed, picked up Clara, and drove to the resort he'd booked. We checked in using his reservation. The front desk didn't question my ID since the booking was in Ethan's name without guest details. We spent the weekend in luxury. Spa treatments, gourmet meals, private guided hikes, all charged to Ethan's card. We ordered room service, too. Meanwhile, Ethan texted Sophia about his miserable fishing trip with imaginary friends. We took tons of photos but didn't post them where Ethan might see. They went into our evidence vault for later. When I got home Sunday night, Ethan was there, spinning tailies about the fish he and his buddies caught. I nodded, asking questions while replaying memories of sipping expensive champagne in a hot tub he paid for. This went on for another month. One of my favorite scams was the birthday gift ploy. Sophia mentioned her best friend's birthday and wanting to buy her something nice but being short on cash. Ethan offered to help, buying a pricey designer bag Sophia picked for me. She gave it to me for my birthday the next week. I carried it everywhere, even on dates with Ethan. He complimented it once, saying it looked expensive. I smiled and said Clara got it for me, technically true. Ethan's savings were dwindling, and he started complaining to me about unexpected work expenses and needing to cut back. The nerve. Meanwhile, his relationship with Sophia deepened. He talked about introducing her to his friends, maybe his family. Sophia dodged masterfully, keeping him close enough to spend but not too close for commitment. Ethan had no clue we were gearing up for the big finale. Sophia started hinting at a dream tropical vacation at a resort with private bungalows costing $1,000 a night. Ethan took the bait, researching ways to fund it. That's when we found he was siphoning money from our joint account to his secret one to fuel his double life, money meant for our bills and future. Seeing those transfers hit like a punch, but it fueled my resolve. As month 3 ended, Ethan was booking this extravagant trip, draining his savings for deposits and buying ridiculous tropical outfits. He had no idea it was all building to the final act of our plan. We weren't ready to spring the trap yet. We had 1 more month to make him pay, literally. The best part? He was clueless. He thought I was oblivious, still cooking his meals and washing his clothes like the perfect girlfriend. He thought Sophia was smitten with him. He believed he was in control, but we held all the cards. Soon, he'd learn how thoroughly he'd been played. Second update, month 4 of operation, ruin Ethan's finances was intense. Sophia had him completely ensnared, and his lies to me were getting sloppy. He'd forget to text when he'd be home late for dinner. I found receipts in his pockets while doing laundry. Once, he mumbled Sophia's name in his sleep. I bit my tongue so hard it bled. Meanwhile, our retribution fund hit $5,000 thanks to Sophia's scams and splitting his money with us. Clara benefited too. We'd take turns using spa packages and gift cards Sophia got from him. One night, Ethan came home rattled. He sat me down to discuss our finances. He claimed he was facing temporary cash flow issues and asked me to cover the full rent and utilities for a month, promising to repay me after a work bonus. I nearly lost it. He was splurging thousands on my cousin while expecting me to fund his life. I stayed calm, agreed to help, and texted Sophia and Clara. It was time to escalate. The next day, Sophia called Ethan, crying about her broken-down car needing $600 for repairs. Despite claiming poverty to me, he sent the money within hours. Sophia took it, thanked him, and split it with me and Clara. We went shopping while her perfectly fine car sat in my complex's guest parking. The real jackpot was the tropical vacation. Sophia had Ethan book a lavish resort in the Maldives. He was sending her photos of the place, gushing about their romantic week. I watched from the sidelines as he sold assets to fund it. His prized guitar collection, a family heirloom watch, even his crypto investments, all at a loss. All while telling me to skip my daily coffee and cancel streaming services. One night, while he showered, I checked his phone and saw he'd taken a $15,000 personal loan. Insanity, going into debt for a woman he'd known for months while asking his girlfriend of 3 years to cut back. Meanwhile, I was planning my exit. Clara helped me find an affordable, secure apartment. I slowly moved important documents and keepsakes there, forwarded my mail to a P.O. box, and opened a new bank account at a place Ethan didn't know. Pretending to be the loving girlfriend was exhausting. Some nights I lay awake beside him, fighting the urge to scream at his betrayal. Clara saw me struggling and suggested a mental health day using our retribution fund. We booked a day at a luxurious hot springs resort an hour away. Ironic, since Ethan had promised to take me there for our anniversary but said we couldn't afford it. The hot springs day was perfect, mineral pools, massages, champagne at noon. All while Ethan was at work, stressing about money he didn't know he was spending on me. It felt like justice. That night I got home to find Ethan pacing nervously, which was odd. My heart sank. Had he uncovered our plan? But it was something else. He sat me down, saying he'd been reflecting on our relationship. I braced for a breakup. After months of lies, was he finally going to end it and be honest with Sophia? I prepped my shocked expression, ready to call Sophia and Clara to speed up our timeline. But that's not what happened. Instead, this idiot got down on one knee with a ring box. He said he'd been distant due to personal struggles, but realized I was his forever. That some people don't value what they have until they risk losing it. He wanted a fresh start. I was stunned. Was this his plan, lock me down with a proposal while still seeing Sophia, or was he planning to ditch her? The ring was tiny, clearly a sign of his strained finances. I stood frozen, weighing options. Saying yes would buy time for maximum revenge. Saying no would end it too soon. I did what any self-respecting woman would do. I fake cried. The tears were real but fueled by rage. I said I needed time to think, that his distance had hurt me and I wasn't sure we could fix things. I said I loved him, a lie, but needed space to consider his proposal. Ethan was crushed but hid it, saying he'd give me all the time I needed. He even suggested I stay with my parents for a few days to clear my head. I nearly laughed. He wanted me out so he could have Sophia over. I pretended to agree, packed a bag, and went to Clara's. I called Sophia and told her about this wild twist. She was floored. What kind of manipulative jerk proposes to one woman while planning a luxury getaway with another? We decided to exploit this. Sophia would get needier, pushing Ethan's financial limits. I'd string him along about the proposal, buying time to finalize my exit. I stayed at Clara's for a week, texting Ethan daily with vague messages like "still thinking" or "need more time." He replied with desperate pleas about his love and willingness to do anything. 10 days after the proposal, Ethan called, sounding frantic, needing to meet in person about something urgent. My pulse raced. Had he caught on? We agreed to meet at a coffee shop the next day. I called Sophia and Clara for an emergency planning session. We decided I'd wear a small mic Clara had from her journalism days so they could listen from her car parked nearby. If things went wrong, they'd be there. We also prepped a cover story in case Ethan suspected anything. At the coffee shop, Ethan didn't mention our plan. It was about money. He admitted he'd made bad financial choices and was in deep trouble, maxed out cards, loans, borrowing from friends. He needed my help. Specifically, he asked me to take out a loan in my name to consolidate his debts, promising to repay it as a team for our future. I sat there, stunned by his gall. He'd spent thousands on another woman, lied for months, and now wanted me in debt to fix his mess. I barely kept from throwing my coffee at him. Instead, I said I'd think about it, citing the weight of the decision and his proposal. His eyes showed desperation, but I promised a quick answer. In Clara's car, we laughed hysterically at his audacity. Sophia planned the next move. She'd tell Ethan she got a work bonus and could pay for their Maldives trip if he finalized the bookings. Of course, her payment would never come. Ethan booked the trip over the next 2 days, borrowing from his brother to cover it, all non-refundable in both their names. The trip was set for Friday, 12 days away. Ethan had no clue what was coming. I had no clue either. Final update: the 12 days before Ethan's romantic Maldives getaway were a whirlwind. We'd planned every detail, but there was always a chance he'd catch on or Sophia would slip. Ethan was desperate for cash, texting me about the loan with lines like, I wouldn't ask if it wasn't critical, and this is for our future. The nerve, expecting me to fund his life while he planned a luxury trip with another woman, even if she was my cousin working for me. I agreed to meet him for dinner to discuss our relationship and his financial woes. I chose a mid-tier restaurant where we had our first date for symbolism, and because I knew he couldn't afford fancier. I dressed to kill, wearing the red dress he loved, hair and makeup flawless. When I walked in, Ethan's face lit up with hope. He feared I'd end things, but my appearance suggested otherwise. We ordered and made awkward small talk. He kept glancing at my left hand, noting the absence of his ring. I got to the point. I said I'd been reflecting on our relationship, our future, and what I wanted. He looked nervous but hopeful. Then I dropped the bombshell. I told him I'd researched the loan and could likely get $30,000 approved. His relief was palpable, like a man saved from drowning. He grabbed my hand, saying how much it meant, how he'd repay me, how it proved we were meant to be. I smiled and said there was one condition. I needed full access to his financial records, bank statements, credit card bills, everything, to understand what I was signing up for. His face froze. I kept my expression sweet, like it was a reasonable request for someone about to take on his debt. He mumbled that it wasn't needed, that he'd handle repayments, and I shouldn't worry about details. I insisted that a life together required transparency. Ethan looked ill. He excused himself to the bathroom, phone in hand. When he returned, he'd regained composure, agreeing to share his records soon, but urging me to start the loan application due to tight deadlines. I nodded, mentally cataloging this as more proof of his manipulation. I said I'd visit the bank Monday, it was Friday, and start the process. His relief was obvious. Over the weekend, Ethan was extra attentive, making me coffee, suggesting my favorite movies, even cleaning without being asked. All while texting Sophia about their upcoming trip, now 9 days away. Monday morning, I told Ethan I had a bank appointment, dressed in a sharp suit, and left while he wished me luck. I actually met Clara and Sophia at our favorite coffee shop to finalize plans. That night, I told Ethan the bank needed more time to review my application, but it looked promising. His hands shook slightly as he hugged me, trying to hide his stress. 4 days before the trip, Sophia played her ace. She called Ethan, crying, saying her grandmother was sick again, and she might need to visit her instead of going to the Maldives. Ethan panicked, suggesting they postpone, impossible, non-refundable, or that her grandma could wait. She was appalled. Could he go with her to see her grandma? No, family, only during health crises. After letting him stew for 24 hours, Sophia called back with good news. Her grandma was stable, and the trip was back on. Ethan was so relieved he sent her flowers for her grandmother, which arrived at my new apartment where Sophia was staying part-time. 2 days before the trip, Ethan was a mess. The bank hadn't approved the loan. He hid his suitcase in the closet when I was home, juggling texts between me and Sophia to keep both relationships afloat. The night before the trip, I told Ethan I needed to discuss something serious. His face paled, likely thinking it was about the proposal or money. Instead, I said I was staying with Clara for a few days to think about our future. His relief was clear. This solved his problem of getting to the airport without my questions. Ethan had no idea that, while he was at work, I had already moved most of my belongings to my new apartment, ready to execute the final phase of our plan.